kind of going back to the basics about setting up. So there are certain things that have to be done before you can really use it, accounts payable. So the very first one would be for you to establish your default check template. So in order to do that, you would go to the switchboard and you would go into Setup, and then you would go to Program Control. And this will be the screen that you will see. On the area where it says Report Information, it says AP Check. And whatever check I choose here will be my default. Now, that doesn't mean you're limited to that if you use two styles. You can, at the time you render or print checks, you can choose another template. But this is the default one that it will always assume that you're going to use. In the attachment I sent you, there is some examples of our check templates, but online, if you go into your VMS account, all the check templates of the updated ones are right there. And so you could go in here and look to see what looks like it will match your blank check stock so that you can select the right one. And what you'll need to do, because there's no names on that report to come up because it doesn't print like other report, you know, to AP check to voucher on the check, so, you know, is that if you just come down, I'm going to see if I can make this more, and look at the check number. So, I mean, the page number, so this is page 4. Go back to the table of contents, look and see page 4 is this check here, right? Oh, you could see it right there. So that way you'll know which check you want, okay? If you're a company that prints a large amount of checks at a time, like 100 or 200 at a time, I suggest you choose a template that has the word font in it. The ones that have font in it have the maker code font embedded in the check, and that way it doesn't have to create, so when it does a template, it goes in there and it renders or creates that font every time it's creating a new check, and that can take longer. But one of if the font is already embedded in it, then they print faster. So almost every style we have has one that has font. You know, it's the same check, it's just that the font just means it's embedded in the check. So be sure to first check, you know, look at the check templates, choose the one that works for your company, all right? And then once you do that, go to Program Control and select that check here. After you do that, we're going to go to Property Setup. So we'll go to our property, and we're going to go to the Accounting tab, and we're going to go to AP. So all of you are accrual, so you'll want to make sure that you have selected your accounts payable account. So do the check and drop down and make sure that you select the right one. The check approval will be, now I have board or employee here. That means that when I'm up and running on the web, a board member, if I wanted them, could approve a check. But so right now I'm giving permissions, and even though I don't have a website set up, for a board or an employee, okay? So the other ones, if you look, and your default is always approve. Always approve just means that it's available to always approve. Now, you would have to still have employee permissions to approve, okay? So that's still a given. So always approve if you have permissions. And then the minimum bank balance will give me a pop-up if I was to print any checks that brought my GL account balance below this amount. So that's what that's for. I'm going to select this back to this. Now, if you ever intend to have boards approve any checks, whether the reserves are operating, I suggest you just stick it to this right now. If you're not going to, always approve or employee only would be, what you would want. You can attach a signature here by saving it as a JPEG. Then you would just click on this icon. You would go to the file that you saved it in, and then you attach it like this. and there you go. You have your signature. This will digitally print on my check. These are the signatures in-house. These are not where we put board member signatures to print on checks. So this will just be anybody within your organization that is authorized to sign checks for this association. There's a place here to put credit card information. It doesn't do anything. It's just a place to store the information if you want to. Now, the other tab here is items. You can, a lot of times, most people don't use items except for work orders, but you could if you wanted to enter in data in AP as an item. And so the first thing you would need to do is you would go to Program Defaults, and you would go to the Item tab right here. So I'm going to go across, I'm going to go to Item, and you can see here some of the items that I have. I have landscaping, plant replacement. I gave it a category. If there's an initial cost that's associated with that always, you can put that up there. It's not necessary. It's just up to you. Now, once you get those items, when you're in Property Setup, you can right-click and add the item. So let's say I want to do something in here for maybe plant replacement, pool service, gutter cleaning, copies. You can do labor, I guess. I'm just going to click a whole bunch. Now, I guess. All right. Now, once you get them in there, because even though we encourage your chart of accounts to be the same, not everybody's is. So then you would say what the GL code associated with that code is. So I'd come down here, I would plant replacement, there it goes, pool service, okay, gutter cleaning, oh, I guess not. You know what, I am really, further guttering, okay. Copies will be an admin. I thought it was 62, but it looks like I'm wrong. Okay, so electric bill. Okay, so you can do something like this, and I'll show you how we use that in AP. So that's always an option, all right? So the next thing that you want to do, and we talked about this before, but we're just crossing our T's and dotting our I's. We're going to go to the DA, and we're going to go to our chart of accounts. This is where AP pulls the information to put on your MICR line. So you want to make sure the bank account that you're using in accounts payable is set up correctly. So you'll want to make sure you have the name of the account. It has to be linked to a bank. So you want to make sure that, you know, it's not unlinked like that. Oops. Tried to put nothing there, but it didn't work like that. So you'll want to put the bank that it's linked to. You'll want to make sure you have an account number, the routing number, and the first check number. Now, I do not have a check number for PayPal, so when we go into AP, we're not going to see it because we have information missing. If I want to write checks out of my reserve account, I need to put in my first check number. Okay? So you'll want to make sure you have that data in there. Another thing you're going to want to make sure is that you have vendors. So we're going to go to the vendor tab. Now, these copied from another property, but when you first set up one from scratch, unless your master, if everybody in the master uses the same ones, great, but most of the time they don't. So you'll want to right-click, say Add Vendor, and you'll see all the vendors that you added. And right after this, I'm going to show you how to import them because right at this moment, you probably don't have any vendors. So once you right-click, and my list is quite large, it will show me all the vendors that I don't currently have in here. And all I have to do is find my vendor, drop and drag. That's all you need to do. one of the things you'll want to do is either if you get a new association or you're doing the conversions. If I pay Blake Landscaping and I need to 1099 them at the end of the year, what I'll want to do is come in here and say how much I paid this vendor from the old software. So if in the old software I paid $23,500, I'm going to add that, and I'll say as of today, or whatever date the start date was. If it was so anything that I pay Blake in addition to this amount when I go to print my 1099s in January will get included on my 1099s. Now, do you need to do it for every vendor? No, only the ones you 1099, because the other one, unless you want to put it here, but you don't need to. Okay, any questions about this? Okay, now, if you don't have your vendors in, and some of you don't, we're going to want to add them. So, I'm going to bring over, here is some vendors that I was given. So these are the ones I want to bring in. Now you can make this list as long or as short as you want, and you can, like if you have your list and you're cleaning them up, because you really only need, if you had 3 air cold roofings listed on this list, you only need 1, because you're going to link it to each of the properties. So if you need to clean it up, this is a good time to do it. What you're going to want to make sure is that you have 1 column with the name, and then you have 2 columns available for addresses. You will have, you need to have the city, the state, and the zip. And then you have other information that is available to you. Now, when I go to do my VMS import right here, when I right-click, I can say Add Field. And it's taking its time. Okay, so the vendor is the information that we're going to be pulling for the name and the address. We also need it to be in the location, but it will automatically copy it in there for us. So unless you have an address that is where you want to know where they're located, but you send the payment somewhere else. Good example, Home Depot. You might, or Lowe's, or those kind of things. If you want to put where they're located for a vendor, to say, hey, you want to go to, on my case, it's Edwards Ferry, but I pay my bill to somewhere else, like Chicago or somewhere else. I might have location different. Location is where the AP information is going to go. But like I said, if it's the same, you only need to put it, you have to have it here, so I just let it copy. So if I look on my spreadsheet here, my first column has my name. So I put that there. My second column is my type. So the types are just used if you want to get a report and say, hey, give me all my landscaping or all my security or all my insurance. So back in VMS, you can create those types by going into Program Defaults. So that's, once again, is in the setup area right here, and then go to Program Defaults right here, and then when it comes open, you're going to want to go to the Code tab. Now, when you go to the Code tab, you'll want to come down to Vendor Types, and you will see the list of vendor types. I can tell you right now on all of yours, you don't have a pest control. So if you had a vendor and you wanted that type to come in as pest control, you would want, before you import, to make sure anything you put in column B here, or your whatever column you put it in, for type here, it needs to be in VMS. If it is not there, what will happen is when you bring in your vendor, it puts attorney, because on my vendor, on my codes, attorney's the first thing. Now, if you never need to render a report by the type, then it's fine. you know, don't worry about it. It's just another way to filter data. Okay? So you'll want to, so those are the vendor types that you'll want to match if you're going to bring them in on your spreadsheet. Okay. So the next one is the addresses. So I'm going to go, so here's my vendor. I did my type, so I'm going to grab my type and drop it over. Then I had address 1, address 2, city, state, and zip. Now my spreadsheet would also I could bring in a business license, a contractor license, the tax ID. Now, I want you to write this down. The fields you want for your 1099s for that report. So if it's a Social Security or a tax ID, it's this one. Okay. This field is information, and it confuses people, but it's the EIN SSN number that you will use for tax purposes. Okay. It has a GL code here, but it doesn't link or do anything. There's no reason need to do it. No 1099, so you would put an excerpt in that box. So anybody who doesn't get a 1099, so I could make a column and just, you know, check for anyone I don't want to send one. Like Empire Today, I wouldn't want to do one. So I could add that here by putting an X here like that, and they wouldn't get a 1099, okay? And I could import that in. So all these incorporated, I'll do that, and I'll add that in my thing. Okay, now back to here. So far, I have city, state, and zip, but the next information I have right here is 2 telephone numbers. Those are located at the bottom, and we don't, it's funny, but this is available to us now. And I had asked Michael if he could add this to it, so I know it's on the plate. Oops, that's not the one I wanted. Okay, no account number. Let's delete that field. Add insurance, because it is a field in, but when this tool was created, it wasn't. So, you know, it was kind of like we've grown, but not all our tools have expanded yet. So, you know, I have asked for it, so hopefully we'll get that soon. But at this time, you can't bring in that insurance information. Okay, so I had fax number, and now I have that no 1099 thing, right? So I'm going to come over here. I'll go back, no 1099. So what you want to make sure is that the columns match how you put them here. So other information I can bring in, so the vendor stuff we talked about, this name address here for location is for AP if it is different than what we put up here. And then email address is another field you can bring in. So it is kind of limited what you can bring in, but this is what we have available to us right now. So once you put in your order, okay, so now I'm going to save this, file, save as, and I'm going to save mine because I have best luck with it as a tab limited, and save. Yes, save it in that format. And now I'm going to close, and I'm going to say don't save because I already saved it. Okay, now once I've done that, I'm going to go to that file. It's right here. And I'm going to go to import. Okay, it did not like this one. So we are going to field. I know it works. I'm going to have to find out. It must not be the X that I need to put in there. So I'll find, oh, I think it's true. That's what I need to put in there. You know what? Because I want to make sure that's right. Will you guys be wanting to import in no 1099 to save yourself time later, especially next year?
I think so.
Okay. So let me open that up again. I am pretty sure that I'm just going to bring it here so you can see what I'm doing, that I need to put in true. And why I forgot that, I don't know why. I'm silly. Okay, so I'm going to resave it. Okay, also, if you do something over and over again like this one, I can save this right here. I can say save, give it a name. See how they're right here? So I'm going to say so that way it's going to save me some time in a minute because I'm going to close this and reopen it. Did I save my spreadsheet? Okay. Okay, file, save as. The reason I had to close that is because I was using it. It won't let me write over it because I was using it. So that's why I did that. Okay, so this will be fast. I'm looking around to see if it went on the other screen. I'm still waiting. There it is. Okay. So vendors, grab my file. Well, cancel really quick. I'll do this one first. Vendor CQ. There we go. All my fields. Now this one, I'm going to go to desktop. All right, import. There we go. So if and import. And then if I go into VMS, it will all be there. Except for I need to close this and come back for us to see them. So, hold on, please. Program default. So I had done a couple others on the list today. I was playing around with, and so it is true or false. So that is the thing for the 1099s. You can see it took it. So if you put something like I did that's incorrect, you'll get an error. It'll tell you. So I had added some of these earlier today, and so from Brink's list, I think this is one of them. So storage, and it all came in. So, and like I said, if you put in the information, if you put in the information, yeah, I was afraid of that. I forgot my train of thought, guys. I'm sorry. If you, like I said, if you don't have the type listed there, this will default to attorney. So that's one of the things you want to do. Okay, and you don't have to put the address down here if it's the same. Any questions about the import? Okay, I like this one that got Dean got junk. Okay, now we have everything in place. We added our vendors, we've got our checks, we're ready to do AP. Okay, so we're going to go on and we're going to go onto entry and we're going to go to accounts payable. And if you have your agenda item on page 5. Okay, so there are, and you'll notice this because it's going to be different than your screenshots, more tabs. So we have a batch, maintenance, iExpert, memorized, and notes. And I'm going to cover every one of these. But we're going to start with maintenance. Okay? So what we're going to do is we'll go in, and I'm going to do a drop down and choose the property that I want to work in. All right. So I'm going to choose this one to begin with because I'm hoping I have some open invoices so you can see. So if you were to come in for the property that you already have, any invoices that are unpaid or are waiting to be printed, you will see them like this. All right? Now, if we went into this property, Hunter Mill, well, we're not going to see any because we haven't printed or created any. So we're going to create our first invoice. Now, when you come in, there up here on the ribbon, there is an icon that looks like it's kind of colorful. If you do the drop down, we have single line and we have multi-line. So it depends on how you like to look at it. The only columns that you miss if you put it on single line, but a lot of people like single line because it's easier to tab through, is you don't have the check memo view, so you can't type in what you want to type on the face of the check, and the reference, which is just an internal thing that doesn't print anywhere, it only shows on a screen. So, and I'll see what that means. Let's go here. Hopefully I have something. Okay, if I look at ABC here, this would go on the memo of the check. Reference would show down here. So what happens is when you're looking at a vendor, you can look down here and see the last 3 months of checks that you have written. You can also see the address of where I'm going to pay it to. So this is the mailing address associated that's going to print on the check. Down here will show me my bank balance for CAB because that's the bank account I chose. And then over here to the right, like I said, the last check was $820. This was the check number. This was the amount. And this was the memo that was printed on the stub of the check. Okay? Hunter, I'll go back here. All right. I'm going to put it in a single line. So my vendor comes first. I'm going to do a drop down. Every vendor that I put in my database that I linked when I was on the vendor tab in property setup, or I linked through program defaults, I will see here. If I need to pay someone that I don't see, all you need to do is click the ... and that will take you to program default, so you can add one or link one. So the first thing I do, so I want to go to one on 800 got junk, because I think that's pretty darn funny. Okay, there we go. 1-800 got junk. So I go there, I see that I have it, then I go to link properties, I'm in Hunter, I click link, and I get out. And now I've added the property. And you would also choose your bank, your account. Now, when I do the drop downs, I'm only going to see one that all the information's filled out. So I don't see PayPal because I didn't put a check number. So it's not ready to go. So I'll check the one I want. Okay. Now, if I need to add one and I come over here and it's not there, so it wasn't in my drop down, and I go to accounts program vaults and it's not here at all, then you can come right up here and add a vendor from scratch and then link it and get out, and now you have the vendor. So you don't have to get out to add them, which is, can be helpful, especially if you get, a new invoice for work that you don't normally use or something. Now, I tend to allow the software to fill a lot of this out, and I'm going to explain that in just a second. So here's my 108 got junk. Here's the address. I can see that I don't have any money in this account, and I have never written them a check. I'm going to come down. This is the summary tab, but I'm going to go to the expense tab, and I'm going to go to my GL account number, and you can either type the number in. So if you know the number, you can come right down here, and you can add it. So I'm going to right there, what department I'm going to pay for. Whatever I put in this memo is going to print on the face of the check. So I'm going to say, okay, and then the amount and the invoice number. Now you'll notice when I added the amount up here on the top, it put it there for me. And then I can put the invoice date. So if I am if I am accrual, and a lot of you do modified accrual, that the AR's accrual and your checks or your invoices are cash. Either way, this is going to be the same kind of premise. The invoice date gets recorded in VMS as your transaction date. Okay, so if I put here July 31st, it is going to post this as the transaction date, July. Now, if I want it to post the expense in July, I also need to come out here and change this one because this is the posted date. So whatever day I put here will post these expenses in my general ledger. But if I just want it as a reference, that July is the transaction date, but today is the posted date, or when I hit approved here, it will put it in my general ledger as transaction date 7/31, posted date 8/25. Now, all your reports are pulled by posted date. So your income statement, your balance sheets. So if you want posted date to be, different in your general ledger than today's date, the day you approve it, then you need to overwrite it. Okay? Any questions about that? So once I say approved, it's going to debit the expense today, and it's going to credit AP. Now, I'm going to go and grab my next one. I'm in Power. I'm going to choose the bank account again, and I'm going to come down here. Now, we added an item here for electricity. So instead of going to expenses, I could come over here and add electric bill. And it will automatically put in the GL account number because I put it in my setup. Then I could come down here and say operating account, and then the memo, I might put account, the different account numbers that are related to that electric bill. Let's see, 237, and then the invoice number, so on and so forth. Okay, that is one way to use items because it just saves you from putting in the GL account number. Or you can do that this is like the default that you see. I can go in and put my electric here. Operating account, I'll put my account number here. The amount. The invoice date. And I didn't read this right, did I? I'm going to say July services. Then I'm going to put here 8/1. Invoice due. If you run a report and you need to know when it's due, then you should put a due date there. Now, most of us have many bills for your power bill. So you can put more than one invoice. So I can say 6,010 again. This time it's going to be account, and I'll put the amount. You know, same thing. And so on and so forth. So, and you'll notice as I did that, it kept adding that up. So you can go ahead and, you know, let that do that. Now, this is also someone I pay every single month or every quarter, whatever. And so another way to save time is I can memorize this. So I'm going to right-click over this invoice, and I'm going to say Save Memorized Item, and it's going to ask me to give it a name. So I'm going to just call it Dominion Power and say OK. So that is a really quick and easy way to add something to the Memorize tab. And the Memorize tab is located right here. So if I went to my property, I could see, for now it's only going to have that one item. Now, this changes every single month as far as the amount. So I normally come back on the Memorize for anything that isn't consistent, like electricity, and I make it 0. But when I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put my landscaping. So where's that, Brad? I thought that was his name. There he is, Blake. Okay, Blake Landscaping. I remembered my check number this time. It usually will remember the last one you did. So I can come back down here. I'm going to go to the landscaping. So my landscaping contract, so I'm going to put here monthly contract. And it's $18.75, okay? And maybe on this first one I'll put, you know, I think 8/1/2015. Okay, now I might have other expenses, 66. So maybe I had some repairs. So $35. And this one is going to be replace sprinkler head. Okay. Also, you can attach the invoice. So if I had an invoice and I wanted to attach it, I could just go like this, drop and drag it in, and it would be there. Another nice thing about this, so there's my invoice, is later, I had this happen, and it was so nice. This iExpert allows you to export data. So if I had an auditor or somebody, a board member, who wanted to see all the invoices, instead of having to pull the file, I can export them to a file because I've already attached them here. Also, if you had a fire, it's digitally backed up. So you don't have to, you know, so this is a really nice, you can put, you know, just drop and drag, you know, any invoices that you have to back something up. Also, if you give permissions to board members later, if you put the invoice here, they can view it online. So there's a lot of really good reasons to do that. So once again, you can come in here and you can put as many line items as you need to. So, you know, maybe they replace flowers, $250, flower replacement. Okay, now, and it can be different invoice numbers. They can be the same invoice number. You know, it's up to you. Okay. Now, this is someone I do pay every month again. So once again, I'm going to right click. I'm going to say Save Memorized Item, and I'm going to say Plain Landscaping. All right. Now, I don't know if I have a management company in here. One of my favorites is adding yourself in the Memorize. So okay. So we'll come down here. Now you can do this any way you want. You can put your, you know, your monthly management. And put, you know, whatever you charge. Like that. And then do another one. And I'm going to show you why one is done, why I choose to do one way and one another. So you always have chargebacks like copies, or postage, right? And those are usually those miscellaneous fees. Some people will add them right to the management fee there. Some people will separate it out. And I will show you, and you can make a decision what you want. So I'm going to take this one here. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to save this one as management fee. Whatever you give an AP item memorized name, my recommendation is you give it the same name. So I'm going to put management fee. I think I used fees. And I'm going to say OK. And this one, when I memorize it, I'm going to save this one as extras. And save that one. Now, when I'm over on the Memorize tab and I want to clean things up, things that I will do is my management extras will change every month. So I'm going to change this to 0. Any idea why I want to change these to 0? So I'm going to show you. I'm going to come over here. So landscape contract is always going to be that amount, but these change. So I'm going to come back here. And I am going to delete all these. Well, I'll just add more. So I'm going to say load memorized items. So it shows me all I have. So when I select them and do more than one and say add, it adds them to my payment list. So one of the things it's going to do is I now, like the power company, I just match up my invoices and I update the amounts. If I had another amount already in there, because it was in my memorized, I get a phone call. I have to run to the bathroom. I get a phone call and I have to get out of the screen, go answer a question for a homeowner, whatever the thing is. Get called into a meeting. I come back and I see, oh, data's in there. I may forget. I may have forgotten. I forgot to update it. So by making it a 0, it makes me update it. So blank landscaping. This is, I know this is the same every month, but these need to be updated. So I would update them. Now, the software will not let me approve an invoice that has no amount. So if I don't, for this month, an extra for repairs or something, you just right-click, you delete those expenses, and it will then allow me to approve the invoice. Okay? So that's why I go back and do that. Okay. Any questions about anything so far?
I have a question on the management fees. Was this just an example, or is this how we actually have to set up to get paid management fees on a monthly basis? Or is there some automatic, like our current software just automatically at the beginning of the month generates all the management fees based on what the contracts are, and the only thing we have to do is enter the extras?
Okay, I'm going to show you how to do it on a mass ad, but you will have to enter the information so the software knows what that fee is, okay?
Okay, so once it's set up here, there is a mass ad somewhere. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll show you how to do that. Okay,
All right.
So I'm going to just take this and delete this one. Okay, so anytime you don't want something, you can delete it if you have permissions. Now, everything I'm doing now, that's why I tell you to go back and look at your permissions, because what you can and cannot do are based on your employee setup. Okay, so if I have I have 3 things for the management company, because I have what we call vouchers, some other people call them invoices, these will equal 3 different checks. They will not combine them into one check. So if you wanted them combined, what you would do is you just continue to add, line items to an existing voucher. If you want 2 checks, then you do just this. You add the 2 checks. Once you have a check approved, like this one, you cannot go back and edit it. If you have to change because you want to add, you have to unapprove it. So to do that, you put your mouse on the line item, right-click, and say Unapprove Voucher. Now, you still have to put permissions to do this. I used to be an IRS auditor, and I have to tell you that this is kind of, when I would go do audits, what I found and why this is an important step is this. I was in an office one time, and the accounting person who did checks said, oh, I use Dominion Power. Somebody came in and approved them, and then she went in and added all her personal things to that invoice, printed the check, and then somebody, and most of the time I found authorized signatures don't look and compare that each invoice is valid. She gave them, they signed off, and she sent them off. She stole a lot of money. So the approval process and unapproving is a security feature, okay? So I want to pay all these. Now, or I want my board members to approve them. The word approved here means that it's a valid expense, okay? So it just means that, yes, I agree we need to pay them. It will not print the check. You can come in one by one if you have permissions and print them, but I like to do things fast. So I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to do this drop down, and I'm going to say approve all, and they're all going to get approved. Now, if I want something to be approved by the board, that's part of another setup, and I'm going to talk about that when we do the web stuff. But if you want to let someone in the office know, hey, don't print this check because I need board approval, then you want to check this box so it will let the person know that you're allowing board approval for that, okay? If you want to print checks, I'm going to go back to summary here. The process, it means print the check. So the column here, process, means print the check. If you look down here, you see your account balance. If I say process, my minimum balance, it's going to tell me what my new balance down here. So this is my current balance, this voucher is 15, and this is going to make my new balance at that. So it will let me print that check, but it's going to let me know that I did it. All right? Now, because I don't want to see a pop-up every time I do this, I'm going to add some pretend money to that account. Okay. I first got out of college and I got recruited by the IRS. After a while, because I was put right into businesses, and I started thinking there wasn't an honest person on earth. It was really frustrating because I found a lot. And so I'll tell you that there are a lot of, controls here to help you so that, you don't have someone take advantage of you. Okay, now the pretend money's been deposited. Okay, back to our property. Okay, so now I have lots of money. Okay, so every one of the ones, so I'm going to grab another one. This is my extras. Yes, okay, so we'll do that one. I want you to see the two. Now, you're also going to notice that, so here's the expense. It shows you how I expensed it out. If we wanted to and we added items, when we put our invoices in, it would be there. Payments, there are no payments been made yet. Notes shows you here who approved it and who, so voucher approved is this one, and payment approved means print the check is here. Now, anything on the Notes tab will be used, will be seen by a board member if they log on. So anything you put here, they can see it if they log on. If you want to say, let's say I'm holding this check for some reason, and I wanted the board member to know that, I could put holding check waiting for insurance proof of insurance is what it's called, right? And so I'll put that note there so that, the board member will know not to approve it, okay? Taskbar, is used a lot of times mostly to send out letters, or you can assign assignment to an employee, asking them to do something. The drop down will show who's in your organization that you've set up, and you could give a note. Does it send them an email or something? No, they'll have to come in and look. So, but it does allow you to do a report about tasks and things like that. So it's up to you. I don't know too many people that do use it, but it is there available to do it if you want to. Okay, so when I'm ready to print, it's only going to print these 2 checks because those are the ones approved, and I'm going to come down here. Preview checks is checked, so I'm going to see them before they actually print. If I said print all checks, any properties that I have in the system that have approved and processed checked will print if I choose this. I just want to do this property, so I'm going to say print selected property. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but right down here tells me about the insurance. So here's check 1, here's check 2. So here's the breakdown, and there's 2 stubs for this check, see? Because I have AP check 2 voucher, and that's what it would look like. Now, I would just go ahead and say print, and once I send it to the printer, when I come back, no errors means that no errors. Reprint will reprint check number 1002 again and 103. Cancel will void check number 102 and 103, and I then can reprint it. And it'll then do check number 103, 4, and 5. So no errors. Now, once it's printed, it leaves the screen. Because remember, this screen shows me vouchers that have not been paid. This is the filter that controls that. So if I click the filter, you can see vouchers not equal to pay. So if I wanted to see one on this screen that was equal to pay, I would change that, go here, and I will see, should be 3 checks because we had our refund check yesterday. So here's my 3 checks. So I can come here, management, and look at it. I could go to payment tab and see it was paid, what the check number was. Notes will tell me who approved it, who printed it, and expenses there. Okay? So based on the filter, default is that it's not equal to pay. So let's say okay again, and here's my other invoices. Any questions about that? Now you'll notice right here, I wanted to show you this because I think it went too fast and you didn't see it. So Black Landscaping has been one of my vendors forever. So right here, it shows me his insurance, when it expires. I see I created one that said a W-9 was received. So if I hadn't received one, I would hold the check until I got a W-9, and that's just how I do it. So right here you have all that. If I had history of pain, like this one has a history now because we just did 2 checks, there are the 2 checks and the 2 check numbers that were used. So at a real quick glance, you can see that. Okay? Now, if I wanted this check here, yes,
Carolyn,
yes,
can I ask a quick question?
You bet.
So if I am paying invoices, we have 51 different associations, and we do a check run maybe twice a week. So I see that function where you went in and you could print all the checks for all the associations. But prior to doing that, I would have to go into each association and actually click. No. Okay.
I'm going to show you that. That's on batch, and we're going to get to that in just a second.
Okay. All right. All right. Never mind then. All right.
Okay.
Thanks.
No, good. No, I love questions.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Perfect. So I want to show you another thing. I don't know if you noticed, when I printed those checks, the check date was today. So let's say that this check was actually for another time period. Now remember, unless I unapprove this, I cannot edit it, so I'm going to unapprove it. And by the way, on the Note tab, it's going to show that I unapproved it. See Notes, unapproved. Okay, I'm going to come down here, and this should have gotten paid in July. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to make it July, and it's telling me July, and I wanted to post in my general ledger for July, so I'm going to put July there. So I'm overriding it. The check date, I wanted to print in July, so I'm going to override the date. So if you need a check date to be something other than today's date, you can override the date. Okay, so you don't have to put this information in like instead unless you need to. Okay, so now if I do this one, and we're going to approve this one, and we're going to print it so you can see. Now you'll notice also when I keep doing stuff, I'm getting a pop-up about out of date. We're in 8.1. Okay, so I have to have permissions to post out of period, and because I have those permissions, I just say yes. If I didn't, it would not let me to do this. So you can control whether you want the person in AP to be able to post to a different time period. So I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to print selected property again, and we're going to get our check, and you'll notice 7/1. Okay, so the check date is there. It's going to post it in my general ledger for July, and I'll show you that when we'll go to the general ledger later, so remind me to show you that. Okay, last thing I want to show you on this screen is manual. Okay, so let's say this check here for Dominion Power, I actually did electronic transfer. So I want to change this payment to manual. I'm going now, if you wrote a manual check, then you just put the check number, but this one was electronic transfer, so I'm going to put ET for electronic transfer. You can say direct deposit or however, whatever you want to call it. Okay? We don't care if the characters are alpha or numeric. Okay? What day did they take it? Well, they took it on the 15th, and I'm just getting to it. That's the amount, and now I'm going to say process. Well, it's a manual check, right? So it's not going to print. But if I see something on this screen, it means that the software still thinks that it is unpaid. So to get this to flip as a paid item in my general ledger, I still need to come up here and say print the checks. Now, it's not going to print it. It's just going to flip it as paid. So it will remove it from the screen, basically. Okay, all gone. If I go back to my not equal to pay, or equal to pay, excuse me, and I go to look at the Dominion Power, if I go to payments, right there, you can see it's paid, and it will tell you how and all that stuff. In the general ledger, it will be recorded as paid. Okay? So if you have manual checks, the only thing that you need to remember is instead of saying payment, we want to say manual. Okay? So these are payments. These we're telling it it's a check. The other one would be manual. Okay? It would help if not equal. Sorry, guys. Okay. I think I've shown you everything on this screen. Also, if you have a lot, this plus sign will allow you to add it up here at the top. Okay, so if it's easier for you to look, I just got in the habit of going here. Now, batch allows me to do a couple things. One, I could say I want to look at all my properties. So every invoice for every property I have, when I do that, comes up. Okay, so I can see them all. Well, maybe I only want to see my approved ones. So I'll say, I want to say approved. So it'll filter, these are the ones that have been approved. So if I think, okay, they're all ready to go, then I can come up here and say process all, and it will then go there and it will check them off for that. This one is going to just let me know, hey, my bank balance is below. So you're going to get that pop-up just like you would have before. Now, if it doesn't check the box, it probably means I'm missing information. Now, some people like this screen too because for even entry, and you can enter in invoices in maintenance or batch. It doesn't matter. When I learned to use the software, we didn't have batch. So, but if you go in here, you can see here's the electric bill, and there's no amount. Something is missing, or it would approve it. So I have money there. Why didn't it approve it? So what I find is, it's whatever you learn to, however you learn to use it. So I'm trying to see. Oh, okay, I can see why. She entered in some information in one area and didn't finish the other. I didn't enter the stuff in here. So like I said, you can come in here, you could go through there, and then I could say print all checks. And there we go. So this is the way, Sarah, I think you're the one who asked, you can see all your properties. And you can filter the data by approved or approved and processes, or not approved at all, or everything no matter what. Okay? And because you're using blank check stock, it doesn't care what you put in. It's going to put all the correct information on top of the check, so you can do them all at the same time. Now, my favorite, once this goes, hold on a sec, process is the memorized that we're going to add from here to add our assessment. So here's Ashburn Farms here, here's Village of Woodley, here's Hunter Mill, all of them are there, okay? So I'll send it to my printer, no errors. Now, there we go. We're all done. Now, let's say it's the beginning of the month and you want to load and process management fees. I'm going to right click. I'm going to say load memorize item. I have properties here. Every one of my properties is going to show. Then, this is why I said give it the same name. So see, I have management fees here, and I have management fees here, and I named them the same thing. So I can say filter, I just want to see management fees. So there it is. Now they all come up. I'll say select all, add, okay. Then I'm going to come over here and say approve and process. So it's going to check them all. Okay, that voucher for Ashburn is missing something, so it turned it red, so I'm going to come back and fix that one. So that one, the reason Albrigade is not letting me do it because of my balance. So I'm going to go to grab Ashburn. Where are you? Property. Oh, see, I am going to say all for the moment because of my filter there. But I'm going to go find my Ashburn management fees. Okay. So my reason I like to put my extras separately is because now I have to come in here and delete these. And that's just an extra step when I'm just trying to get my management fees. That's kind of why I like I said, I like to do them separate. But if you always do your fees together, then you'll just have one that's that. So it's up to you. So now I can the reason this is taking so long is because of the GoToMeeting, by the way. It's not this long if I was just working on my own. Okay, now I'm going to do my filter again and say I just want to see everything that's ready to process. So these should be all my management fees. Yep, and they are. And then I just print them. So I was in an office that had 200 associations. They loaded it, just the management fees. They didn't do their extras. They loaded it. They, by Memorize, they approved and processed and printed the checks, and we got all, I think it was 150 associations within 10 minutes because I timed them because I wanted to see how long it took. So, is that easy enough? Dean?
Yeah, looks pretty good.
Okay. Now, another great thing about that filter and Memorize, you have a vendor who comes in, he's desperate for cash, and you have several invoices on several different properties that he's hoping that you will pay because he needs to make payroll or whatever, and take compassion and say yes. So, if you're, here's all my checks. Okay. You can always do the same thing. All properties, you can, okay. I didn't have to do that, by the way. I shouldn't have. It's taking too much time. Okay. Right-click, say Load Memorize. It's going to show you all properties. So if you name everybody the same thing, so like Dominion Power or whatever, or if you just put in all the invoices for, that. If I come here and I look and I grab that one, it'll do it. But look at this one, Department of Water, Department of Water. If they're those I named differently, so I'd have to pull them in twice, do two of those. But if I'm consistent, they'll all come in at the same. So, like AT&T, there's a space. So it's just a suggestion. It just kind of makes life a little bit easier. So here's all my Dominion Power. I can say select all, add, and then it will add those here, and then I can, now, is this where your AP person likes to put invoices in? And you can also hit vendor and then sort it by vendor. I can go in there, and then I can just start entering in my information. That Dominion Power didn't have anything memorized. But anyway, but you have the idea, right? So some people like this because once they get used to, this description, the department, the memo goes on the check. So this would be, the period. Boy, you cannot type when everybody's watching, can you? The file, same thing. I can go and I can grab a file. I'm trying to find something that So I'm going to grab wow, I wish I had some, okay, there we go. So you can add them just like this. So it's a drop and a drag. So what you should do when you drop and drag by this way is click the area that you want, the line item that you want it to go on, grab the document, and then drop it in. Because if I just dragged it over and didn't do that, it wouldn't know which one to put it in. Okay? So there's that. The memo is going to go on my thing. Here's my department, electricity, and the amount. If I was using items, then, and I can do it for Hunter there. Okay, so Hunter, I could do, here's the GL code that I coded in, but if I use the item, I'll usually go down here and say electric bill, and it would know that that was it. So it's really up to you
Carolyn?
how you want to enter it. Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask another question here? So that file, that memo's right there, that actually goes on the actual, the check itself, correct?
The voucher of the check, right.
The voucher or the check? The actual
voucher.
Okay, so and then invoice number, that goes, what
that also goes on the check. That is, so if I'm looking at this screen here, that's located right here.
Yeah.
Right there, invoice number. If I'm looking on this tab, it is right here.
Okay, and that actually is on the actual physical check that's going to be detached from the voucher.
Nope, that's on the voucher too.
That's
if you want it,
right,
if you want it on the it's right here.
Yeah,
if you want to see it on the face of the check, it has to be there, and you have to be in multi-line then.
Okay, yeah, that's going to have to be the way. Okay, yeah, we get a lot of vendors that accidentally
tear off.
Yep, and then they don't know how to apply the funds. Okay, so multiple entry. Okay, that.
Yeah, so if you have to have that, you don't want single.
You have to, right, okay. And it's that second area there, okay.
Right, and like I said, the reference doesn't print on the check, a check register or report. Let me show you where that prints. I'm going to put in okay, so I have that. I'm going to put in, so the amount, $35, and there's that. Okay, so it's going to be an automatic thing. I'm going to be lazy really quick on this one. Proven process, yep. Actually, I think there was something on, okay, so we're going to print this check, face of the check, print selected property. Okay, so face of the check. See, Hello Sunshine is not on here anywhere. Down here is the invoice number, the memo, the invoice date. Okay. Now, no errors. If I come in here and I go to Dominion again, okay, there's Dominion. I go to Summary. Normally, I could use Dominion. I might have to get that done. Is that this reference here is the only place we see it. That check was Dominion, wasn't it? Oh, look, I have two. Oh, that's pretty funny. Okay. Well, I got to fix that link. But anyway, this is the only place that shows it.
It should say Hello Sunshine. Okay. Yeah, so check memo is only what goes on the face. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm clear with that. All right.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. No problem. Okay, so maintenance now. When you need to see a voided check, if you need to void a check or you need to see a paid check, you can't do that from batch. You have to do that from maintenance. Okay, so batch allows you to do certain things. The filter on here, you can go in and see different properties here, but you can't. You can add more, and you can do one at a time too. So you can limit that to just one property. A lot of people like this because they just find that it's just easier to, tab through it. But there are things that you miss on here. Now, I'm going to go to this is the multi-line here. So this still allows me to put in the check memo. So it goes on the face of the check. Down here, this memo here will be on the voucher. Okay? Now, if I need it, like I said, to see a void check, then you have to be on maintenance. You go to the filter, and you need to change this to equal. Now, if you've been on some of our clients have been with us from the beginning, they might not want to see every paycheck, so they're going to even make their filter process by vendor. So show me now just everyone for Blake Landscaping and say, okay. And now I'm only going to see Blake Landscaping. So here's this one. I can see what it was paid. And here's this one, and see the same thing. Now, if it was lost in the mail and you just need to reissue it, the easiest thing to do is right-click down here and say Void Payment. Okay? What it will do is it's going to void check number 1008. It's also going to let me choose the void date. So if I wanted it to be a different day, mind you, I have to have permissions to do that. You can't. So if I needed it to void in July, I could if I needed to. So I'm okay with that. So I'm going to void it today. So what it's going to do, it's going to leave this one because it's no longer paid, and it's going to be back there to be one that is unpaid. If I paid one in error, and I shouldn't have paid it at all, you can just come right here and right-click over it and say Void Voucher. That's going to void the invoice and the check, okay? You could also come up here and say Void Voucher. This is what I'm used to, so I'm used to just saying void like that, but other people like to come up to the ribbon and do that. Okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to say not equal, oops, sorry about that, not equal to paid, and I'm going to delete this filter because I'll see everything. Now, if you get out of VMS and come back in, it'll revert back to the thing. So here's the one that I voided. If I look at the payments, you can see right here, it just reactivated it. Now I could go in and I could print the check. You know, so when I do it this time, it had check 108, and it's going to give it a new check number. Okay, so that's something you have to do if they lost it in the mail, right? Because you don't know and you don't want someone else. I gave it a new check number, and I'm happy, and so now I'm going to go. I lied yesterday when I said it was only an hour. I've been talking for an hour and a half. Sorry, guys, I'm almost done. No errors. Okay. Now, if you need to reprint a check because it got jammed up in the printer, power went out, VMS thinks it prints, but it never did go to the printer, and you want to reprint, come up to the printer, and if you do the drop-down, you'll see Reprint Check Batch. Now, when you do that, you can do all your properties. You could do a selected property. So if I don't put a property here, and I'm going to just go down here and say today's date and say refresh, every check I printed today will be there regardless of property. If I choose a property and say refresh, I'll only have that property. If I only want a check number, oops, I will only get that check number. If I only want a vendor, oh, you're going to make me, I'll just get that vendor. Okay, so all I have to do then, select all, process, yes. Now, I think the next pop-up I'm going to get is going to be funny, but so here's my checks, same check numbers as before. Okay, this pops up still. It's, you know, I always just say no error. Okay, so that's how you reprint one. Have you ever asked anybody to give you a blank check, voided check? Print void check. So it'll do that for you. Okay? So if you ever needed one, there you go. Notes is a place here that you can put notes. I'm going to go to Michael's, see what he put on his property. Oh, not much. So here was, and you can, through iExpert that we learned about, if you needed something to be included in your financial package and you're going to be using File Fusion to create it, you can attach it here, and with the begin and end date parameters, you can have this, whatever, and we don't care what kind of document it is. You can add a document there, and you would be able to have it included in the File Fusion. You can also do things, you can add notes, you know, and it's a drop and drag thing too, to put things in here and then, you know, give it different parameters and things like that. So, or you can just keep track of stuff. So it's whatever you want to use this area for. This is notice for AP, so this was just Michael's example, and I don't know that, see, we won't really have anything, we never added anything, okay? Now, iExpert, go ahead. Someone have a question? Okay, iExpert is used to find stuff, so, or create files. So let's say I wanted, and I don't really have that many attachments, so I apologize, it's not going to be that exciting, but we did put at least one for there. So I'm going to say 100 mil. I wanted to go into those areas, so that's the note tab. This is the AP note on my thing, and I wanted to look in all here. I'm going to say research. Now this is what I did with an office recently that was having an audit, and I don't know why I went back so far. We haven't had that property that far. So it always will go back 30 days from today. So you can change the parameter here. You can say exactly what you're looking for, but I'm going to say search, and I'm going to see all the information. So here, any invoices that I have put to, how payments were approved, are all here. So I could say select all, and then I could come over here and say send it to a file, and then process and tell it where I wanted to save it. And then it will then put that, kind of funny, I had stuck it one in another, deliberately here. I'll just stick it there. Okay, and it then will export all that information into a file that I can then, where's my folder? It's over here, deliberately. Okay, I could then give to the auditor. So here's all the information, or if there was attachments to give, if I go here to index, nice part about this, there will be hyperlinks in here, and it'll pull up the exact invoices that I attached. So let me make this smaller so you can see better. But iExpert is a wonderful tool, and you can use it, here we go, and get, so here is the one invoice that I attached. Okay, it wasn't a valid file, so, but, you know, had I done it, that invoice would have been on there. It was actually a hyperlink. Okay, but it's a great tool. And like I said, anything that had an attachment, it would give you a hyperlink, and then you could just attach it, and then these are just all the notes about it. If I had put a documents or any other things, it could, you know, be in that iExpert. So it's a great, it's very helpful. Or let's say you wanted to find out if something got paid, or, you know, you were looking for something specific. So I'm going to go to Arborgate, it's Michael's property, and let's say I wanted to find out who was it, you know, let's say I'm going to put this into 1900. I could come in here and say, okay, I know that we did something like maybe replace the roof, so I might put roof repair. And that's what I'm going to search for. So it's going to look in all those areas I said options. I'll say search. So in this property, it's going to go through and it's going to look for any record with this in the memo, and then it can pull it up. So, I mean, I don't know if you've ever had that. You know, let's say this happened to me one time. Water heater broke, and the manager says, I know that we replaced that about 7 years ago, and we had a 10-year warranty. So what they wanted was to figure out who in the world got the water heater. So had they had this tool, they could have come in, put water heater, done search, and then that AP voucher would show up, and then they go, oh, okay, and then they could go research it from there. If they put a copy of the invoice there, or even the warranty, attached it in the notes section or in the task section, then that would pull up. So, think about what you could use this for, and it really does help you. It might make the difference on how you want to enter in your invoices. Do I want to put, my invoices? Do I want to attach my warranties? You can do all that. But if you put it in here, and here's the file, you can pull it up through iExpert later and at any time. Okay? All right, the last thing is just printing a report. So on our website, we have copies of all our different check registers. Everybody has a different one that they like, and you can look through them and choose the ones. If you go into your VMS currently, the AP may or may not have the one that you want. So one of the things that I'd like you to start doing is looking at the report, saying, this is the look for the balance sheet I want, for my income statement, so that when we get to the point where we're creating your report folders, you know which ones you want in there. I'm going to show you how to do it, so if you can do it on your own, or you can add some in the future, because it's extremely easy. But you kind of, when you need to know what you want to start with. So if I come, I'm going to select the property I want to get my report for. I'm going to do the drop down, and my AP one happens to be, so I'm going to say I kind of like AP check register with detail. I want it, my default parameter, I can set for whatever I want, and I put it for begin last month, end last month, but I just want to show this month now. So let's do a preview. And here's my report. So it has Dominion Power, the ACH, shows, and all the different check numbers. And on the bottom, it'll also show which one I voided. Right, there's one, so you'll see it right here. There's the voided one. Okay. And like I said, we have a lot of reports. So you'll want, sorry about that, decide which ones you like. Right here, as you can tell, these are all just AP, well, most of these are AP check registers. Some of them we call expense registers. So like I said, go through, look at them. Here's more. Here's AP expense. Take a look at the report, see what you want. If you do prepaid, not prepaid aging, but if you need a report for your aging, there are several of those. So you're going to want to go look at the different reports and decide which one you like. I think this is the one I like. I think we paid everything for this property, so it's going to say no data. Yep, no data, but it does tell me my cash balance. Any questions? Nope. It's pretty simple. Okay, if anybody needs help importing in their vendors, let me know right now, and I will call you back, and we'll do it. If you're still cleaning it up, and you want to do it later, that's fine too.
Yeah, ours will probably be ready tomorrow.
Okay, so that'll be great, Dean. Hunter or Keystone, do you need any help bringing in your vendors? Or some vendors?
Not at this time.
Okay. Keystone?
We're good, thank you.
Okay. So we're meeting tomorrow, and I believe I have to look. So we'll just verify what we're doing tomorrow really quick.